Hello. Let's see. It's nice and quiet right now here. I've had a lot of background, all of a sudden, and a lot of background noise. But things are quiet now. And it's, well, you can see what time it is. And you can see the date. I guess I should put my name someplace. Jim Howard. I like keyboards for some reason, computer keyboards, and I just bought a new one. There's several videos about it. Red Dragon, I think it was $63, I think. You know, of course, a lighted keyboard and stuff. Nice keyboard. Just a couple things I don't like about it. That's the, and some of the keyboards I notice that way, like the 6 key. The 6 looks like a, you know, at the top, you know, looks like a G instead of a 6. And also the 8 looks kind of funny. It didn't fill in the, like, when it, you know, at the top and the bottom, it's not filled in. And the 9 looks kind of weird. So, I mean, it's not a deal breaker. Well, the Q looks a little weird. And the ASDFG, I guess that's a G. It looks a little weird. But, and I'm a touch typist. When I was in high school, I went to, it sounds expensive, but I mean, well, it was expensive for my parents, but it's not, you know. Dealstown Military Academy. It was a military school, Catholic military school. I don't know what my parents paid, but I know they, you know, they paid taxes for public schools that I never went to, and that was required, of course. And then they paid for, you know, me to go to Catholic school. But how did I get on this subject? I do not remember. Sam I am, or whatever. Anyway, I like keyboards, and I got this new one, and it's okay. And it's, now here's a keyboard that I've had for several years. It's the DOS keyboard. It is nice. They have a whole line of you know, of it. Great feel. I mean, built. You know, this could be a dangerous weapon if you hit somebody in the head with it. I really like everything about it, except the keys are not lighted. And in fact, I think the video that I made yesterday or a few hours ago or whatever, I think there was a couple in a row. Well, more than that, I talked about the new keyboard that I've got that is cheap, and I think I'm going to have to, where's my toilet paper? Well, I may have to pause this if I have to get up and wipe my nose. I cleaned this desk off a little bit. Cleaned the desk off here a little bit, this desk. This desk is filled with 2 monitors, the keyboard, my cell phone connection, but I'm going to move that back to where I had it over here because I was moving stuff around. And I've got a whole bunch of stuff. Oh, you can't see that, but you know, I forget, I've got 2. I'm only using one. I'm using the Avery Media USB, you know, camera, and it's really nice. And the other, the Razor, which I've also used, and it's really nice. But I do need a lighted keyboard. Why was I talking about, oh, I know, typing. I went to a military high school there again. My family was not rich, but my father was a union member, Boilermaker, all his life. And my mother was a Boilermaker with him in California during World War II. They built Liberty ships. And when I got out of high school, I went to welding school in Cleveland, Ohio, and came back, and I worked for many years making good money, union jobs, as a Boilermaker. Even went on a field job down to Convent, Louisiana. I was heading for Pascagoula, Mississippi, because the Pascagoula, Mississippi Boilermakers chapter down there had called all the other Boilermaker, local unions and said, we need welders to build ships down here. But when I got to New Orleans, I'm going to have to pause and get the toilet paper over here by me. I'm sorry. Hang on a second. Where's that pause button? Take a snapshot, stop recording, pause. There it is. Okay, I'm back. Anyway, I was heading for shipbuilding yard, but when I got to New Orleans, I thought, I'll just check to see if the union here needs welders, out of jobs. And I went there, and they did, definitely. They were building a Texaco refinery in Convent, Louisiana. And so they sent me over to the test place to take the welding test. And they have you, make some welds, and like maybe 2 pieces of heavy metal, they'll push them together, whatever. Then you have to put a weld on it. And then there were some others I think you have to weld overhead. I can't remember now, it's been so many years, a lot of years. And then they take them and, put them in, and then they bend it and stuff like that, the thing that you welded. And of course it's not allowed to, it better not break, where the weld is. You can break someplace else, but it better not break where the weld is. Then they also, I think they x-rayed them. I worked jobs welding where somebody would come along and x-ray the welds, to make sure that they were good welds. I have no idea why I've got on this subject. Anyway, this keyboard, I just love it, but not lit. This one I got a lot less money, and everything feels good about it, and it's lit and everything else. I think the reason I'm mentioning that is because if you watch maybe the 2 previous videos, you'll see me talk. And well, let's go over this. The one right before this one, I talked about that. It bothered me that I was happy with this, but it bothered me that I had this keyboard plus some others over on the bed. There's 2 I think keyboards over there on the bed, and they're both good keyboards. And I think there's some more someplace. But it bothered me that I had this one that I really liked, and that I could always use as a weapon. I'm kidding about that. So anyway, I made it in the previous video. I don't think I talked about it. I think I typed underneath it down in the text thing that what I did was moved, let's see if I can get this up with that. I don't want to, there, okay, you got a view of it. I got the cable wrapped, Then what I did is I moved it underneath the monitors. I have 2 monitors here. And then I took this one and put it here, and I unplugged, this lighted monitor. And if it was out of the way, then I put this one and plugged it in. And I even with this little lamp over here, there wasn't enough light to make me happy. And so I put a small light, and where is that? It's not plugged in yet, someplace. It's over on the bed. That's where I put everything, because there isn't any up, this is it. And so everything ends up on the bed, and then when I go to bed, I have to move everything. And it's a pain in the butt. Anyway, I moved this lamp here. There's a lamp right there. I can touch it. I'm touching it now. I moved it over here right to the edge of this desk, which joins with two other tape on a desk here. And not enough light. Really. So I moved it's laying on the bed too, a lamp that has no shade on it. One of these ones that come up in. So, but I put it behind the monitor here because the light bulb was back low, and that didn't do the job. Then I have one of these, which I have a sort of love-hate, it's clips, it's a fluorescent type, and it, it's USB, and it sits on top, and I can move it, if I want to, I can move it over, even I have it there. And with that light on, in fact, I put it on, and I've just left it on, cranked it down a little bit. Still really didn't get the kind of, I think half of the board was, so I'm back to using so disregard the comments underneath. Probably don't pay any attention to those anyway. So I mentioned in a video a while back, I don't know how long ago, it wasn't that very long, I think within the last month. I think it's YouTube Premium, which I pay for, and they just raised the price. YouTube did. They sent out an email, and I forget, I think it's something, I think I paid something, me and a whole bunch of other people. I think I got a little bit of information about it here from, let's see, nope. Oops, wait a minute, let's go over here. Okay. So let's see, start page. My YouTube site. By the way, on my YouTube site and on everybody else's YouTube site, up here at the top, I think I have a feeling a lot of people don't even know it. They don't pay any attention to it. If you go up here, there's like 5 or 6 things that a YouTuber can put in links. And so I have one that is a gift for Jim Howard, which takes you to a wish list. That's what I put in there. Now other people can put other things in, I don't think there's anything. Let's see. Let me click on that. Yeah, I do have. I do have 2 monitors in there, and I have a closet full of monitors. Don't rush out to buy me a monitor. But I would like to have. Why did I put this one up here? I'd have to check on the specs. But this ViewSonic, I have one ViewSonic monitor, and but what I'd like to have is 2 matching ones, same kind and everything, and they're really nice. And these are like 27-inch, and they're not. Well, let's see here. They're not real expensive. They're just too expensive for me right now, or forever. But with what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, it would be really nice to have these 2 matching monitors. Anyway, back to let's see, do I want to go back or okay. Oh, okay, back to here. So here is YouTube Buddy. If you have a YouTube site, there's a thing called YouTube Buddy, and if you click on that, it will take you there and tell you about YouTube Buddy and how much it costs. I pay $6 a month for the pro thing. A YouTuber, and I think that this, I guess this is a TubeBuddy thing. Okay, I pay $6 a month, and there's a whole bunch of things that you get that help you with your YouTube site. It's worth $6 a month. Well worth it. I think I may have already showed it. I don't know. I really can't afford the $26 a month, and I sure can't afford the deluxe thing. Okay, let's see. Okay. Now this here is, okay, if you click on this, it takes you to Jim Howard on TikTok. And this is a recent addition. Well, you can see I only have 2 things on here. One is when I was in 1958 going to De La Salle Military Academy. I guess I could just say high school. There was a place called, believe it or not, let's see, what was it called? What was it called? Not Gay Park. What was it called? Fairyland Park. It wasn't one of these, at that time, I'm sure they had them someplace, but it wasn't like Disneyland or something. It was a park that had rides, you know, that were cheap and that kind of stuff. And they had a booth where, I guess I might go ahead and play it for you, since I'm here, where you could make a 45 RPM. Don't tell me you don't know what a 45 RPM record is. Oh, you people, young whippersnappers. We went in there and paid the money, and it, you know, we recorded it. So this is Larry and Jerry Winship, who have passed away. We made the thing, and of course they make it made right there automatically or whatever. And so anyway, we were in our junior year, freshman, sophomore, junior, yeah, junior year, and then their senior year. So this is them. Identical twins, by the way.
My name is James Hard, and the 2 guys I'm with are idiots.
That's you, Shorty.
Listen, Shorty. I quit untying my shoes. Folks need not scooting over, he's standing up straight. That's all the farther it comes to me.
Well, can I help if you stand on my head?
So these 2 guys, they're both nuts.
Yeah, you sure are crazy, aren't you?
Well, all 3 crazy. We were the Town Military Academy.
I know we wouldn't, but we're going there, aren't we, in that often?
I guess that's enough of it. Well, it's going to end in 13 seconds.
Contrary to rumors, these guys are not idiots. We're just imbeciles.
Yeah, just crazy.
Anyway, can you believe it? Oops, starting over here. That was a park called Fairyland Park. That's before the big, Disney World and those kind of places. I'm sure at that time there probably were some places like that, but not in Kansas City, Missouri. Um, well, my nose itches now. Um, I do have, this isn't it, but I do have an allergy, but it's not affecting me down here. And hay fever. Uh, I don't know if you've heard of the MS 150 back quite a few years ago. They came up with the idea, well, who was it for? What class of people with what disease? MS. There you go. Multiple sclerosis, I think it is. I think that's it now. So they started it, and you ride out. Oh, that was 150 miles, I think. You rode 150 miles, and I read about it, and and then they had it, and I thought that's pretty neat because then there were people that talked about it and stuff like that. I thought that's pretty neat. So I'm not sure if I had a bike then or not, but then if I didn't, I bought one, and I went out and started riding it. But I'd get on my bike and I would ride a few blocks and stop at a fast food place and and then go ride some more. So, okay, that was for this getting ready for the second year. My nose was running all the time. My eyes were watering. All kinds of problems. I thought, damn, And it was just so bad. I mean, I wouldn't be able to ride 100. I mean, I would have been, just. So I thought, well, okay, I'll do next year's after because I won't have a cold then, And of course, it was hay fever. So the next year, I'm all ready for it, looking forward to it, going to ride, and go out, and same thing happened. And I don't go to doctors for things like that, I'm not sure if that was a special visit to the doctor or if it was a regular visit. Must have been a special, or must have been, I can't remember. Anyway, I went to the doctor and I said, this cold is driving me crazy and blah, 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 And he said, do you get this about this time of the year? And I said, well, it happened last year because I want to ride in the MS 150 and I've been going out, to practice and I can't do it. I mean, my nose, and he says, you've got hay fever. And so that was my introduction to hay fever. Years later, when I was, years later when I was a hospital security officer, maybe I was a hospital security officer then, but years later when I was a supervisor, I started on the day shift. Well, no, I hired in there, and then eventually an opening became available on the second shift, which I didn't want. The director of security wanted me to take it. The supervisors wanted me to take it. They wanted me to take it, though, because the director of security told them, get Jim to take this job on the second shift as supervisor. And anyway, when I ended back on the day shift, eventually after years on the second shift, the only way the director of security could get me go to the second shift as a supervisor or go to the second shift for any reason was, he knew how to work, Jim, I really need you to go on to second. I got kids, I want to stay on the day shift, Well, I really got a problem with 2 security officers there. He knew, a problem, Well, I didn't say that or anything like it was, it sits in my brain, ooh, I can solve a problem, And he says, then, take care of the problem and then, you can come back on the day shift when you want to. I went over and I took care of the problem real quick. And it took me years to get back on the day shift. I kept telling the director of security, I want to go to the day shift, you know. And then finally, I forget what happened. Oh, I was telling him how cute my kids were, or something or other. You know, I came home from work, working the evening shift, you know, and opened up the front door, and Crunch, my two little kids at that time, we eventually had 4. They had taken Cheerios or something and made like a mountain right in front. You know, I stepped in the door and like it's Crunch, you know. I wasn't upset or anything. So I mentioned that to him. And I said, I really need to be on the day shift. Oh, I didn't know it was because of your kids or whatever. Well, okay. You know, we'll set it up where you can go to the day shift. And then I went to the day shift. And then several years later, an opening became available there for supervisor on the day shift. And how did I get on this subject? Oh, it was the MS-150. Yeah, that somehow I got into it. Oh, I know what it was. So I was supervisor on the day shift, and hay fever season came around, and it bothered me a little bit. But had some parking lot. I was in charge of, on the day shift, 7 parking lot attendants, and then the security officers and stuff. And then I had, you know, I was like the fire marshal and training officer for the department and all this kind of stuff, everything. So all the people that were working for me on the day shift, all of them. Of course, I treated them well and looked out after them. Now, there's a time or two, the director of security, he was kind of something else. You know, that he would say, oh, I'm going to fire so-and-so, you know, one of the people. I said, no, you're not. You know, he said, buts, and no buts, you know. And then one time it was somebody on the second shift that he, no, that's when I was on the second shift, okay, and he sent over like the lieutenant to fire somebody, and I said, nah, I'm in charge of the second shift, and that person didn't get fired, you know. And then the same thing on the day shift. You know, when the day shift had all these parking lot attendants, and 2 of them had hay fever, and I tried to help them, like, okay, well, you know, for the one guy, okay, stand inside the, you know, the air conditioning front doors and just look out at this parking lot that you're responsible for. When you see somebody that needs, you know, help or whatever, then you go out. Well, I didn't, even though I had hay fever, I didn't realize, you know, you know, the pollen gets in your clothing, you know, and just stepping inside there, it might make you feel, you know, you might think that you're doing, oh, I'm inside now, air conditioning, but I haven't had any problem with hay fever at all, I think, since I moved. Well, of course, first I moved to from Kansas City, Missouri to Orlando, Florida, and then went to Texas for a little bit and worked air traffic control security after the 9/11 attack. Then I went to Miami for 5 years, I think, and then to Texas. I haven't been bothered really by it, I don't think. But anyway, I thought it was helping the parking lot attendants, and yeah, with the hay fever, it didn't work very well. Oh, I might mention, anyway, I was day shift supervisor, and the director of security called me, and he said, Tony, that's one of the a young parking lot attendant, and black. The director of security was very prejudiced and made my head explode. Finally, I just couldn't take it anymore. After years of it, I just couldn't take it anymore. I fired one of the most racist security officers we had, and I had to go over everybody's head, you know. I had to go over the lieutenant's head, had to go over the director of security's head. And, I mean, he said things like the director of security. Like one time it was a supervisor's meeting. So, director of security, me from the day shift, second shift supervisor. The second shift was really racist. Third shift supervisor, and I guess a lieutenant or something. But anyway, there was we took care of lost and found and stuff like that. And patients that were going to surgery, security would go and pick up their belongings. I mean, if they would, wanted it, and lock those up. And then when the patient came back from surgery or whatever, they'd take them their stuff when they were ready for it. But anyway, in that room that the stuff was stored in, some stuff came up missing, they said. And anyway, the director of security said, well, he says, I know who, he says, I know who did it. And then I knew, and I said, and who would that be, Mr. Ross? Tony, He was telling me that he wanted to get a car. He didn't have a car, And he says, you know how they are. He wants to get a car, and then he'll put the fur or whatever it is on the thing, and then he'll have, what was it, dice hanging from, I forget, whatever's racist, And I said, no, Tony is proud to be a security officer, and he's not, oh no, he's the one. And anyway, I proved that he wasn't the one. The director of security said, don't do anything, because we had to all go take a polygraph test, by the way. Tony passed. The only guy that didn't pass was a security officer, and he worked the day shift. I was his supervisor, and he was gay, and he didn't want anybody to know that he was gay. And I didn't know he was gay for a long time. One time, I don't know why I went to the hospital when I was my day off. I went down and had Darlene and the kids with me in the car, and went down and just pulled in the parking lot. I'm not sure if I went inside or what, but anyway, Richard, the security officer, he didn't lean down or look into the, he just came up and was talking to me. I was in the driver's seat, and he came up and was talking to me. And then, then we left, and then Darlene said, who was that? And I said, oh, that was Richard, And she said, yeah, he's gay. And I said, no, he's not gay. She said, yes, he is. He's gay. So, anyway, real nice guy, but definitely gay. And there for a while, things on schedule. We ended up working on Saturday and Sunday, just be the two of us, him and me. And usually on Sunday, nobody came in. I'd read the Sunday, or whoever, we'd go up the office, we'd make our rounds, and then go to the office and maybe read the Sunday paper or something like that, and whatever. And so, I don't know what it was, or what was it? Anyway, I said some stuff. It wasn't on one, like it wasn't. There was several things, and then can't remember what it was that made him think that he was gay. That he was gay. And then all of a sudden he just said to me, "Oh man, the other day, this guy came in the hospital or was walking by the hospital or whatever. Man, I forget what he said. And it was like, oh my God, I'm sitting there. And I realized, he thought that I knew that he was gay, but I didn't know he was gay till that came up. Now when the stuff was missing out of the, no, it wouldn't have been that. Well, I know one time the director of security, we had our departmental meeting, and about every 2 or 3 months, something like that. And so there was like 15 of us, and in the security department. And the director of security put me in charge of arranging for the training and that kind of stuff. I mean, I liked the guy and I hated him. And finally I just couldn't take it anymore. I took it as, and I was all set up to go into the biomed department. I told him, repeatedly, I can't take you anymore, you're driving me crazy. And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to find a job someplace else. I said, I just can't take it anymore. I'd stopped wearing my, insignias, or my sergeant bars or whatever. And he in his merit reviews of me from the very beginning, he just gave, I deserved it, of course. He gave me a fantastic write-up, wow, Well, I'd worked there 6 months, and then when I first started, after 6 months, you got a merit review, and I did my job. I've always done my job. A lot of guys don't, no matter what job I had, I did it. And but anyway, I'd worked there 6 months, and I was out. One of at that time, the day shift supervisor was a female, and I liked her. She was real nice, but she came in to visit. It was like, she came in to visit. She did some of the jobs. I mean, she did some of the work, and she did a fair amount of work. But it was time to talk to her friends and do that kind of stuff. And two, it was kind of a pain in the butt because she would do stuff like we would pick up patient valuables and stuff. And when she would pick them up, she would tell them, okay, my name is such and such now. Now, when you want your valuables, you just call. You just call me, and I'll come down and take care of, And she would do. So somebody would call, the phone would ring because we didn't have somebody in this. Well, there was a secretary, but she didn't get our kind of, for security. But I'd answer the phone and, could I speak to so-and-so? And I said, well, she's not here right now. That was the supervisor, Well, I want my valuables returned. I said, I can take, I told everybody I didn't do that, and she did it. Stuff like that. But, she was there. She actually did her job, but she also, I got, in fact, I think I might be the only one that I got commendations a few times left for me by people that I helped. And like a few times somebody would say, oh, thank you so much, that was a big help and everything. I'm going to write a letter, and I said, whatever the thing would, I'd say, no, you don't need my name, I'd say just write it to the hospital, and if you want to, just thanks, say how nice security is or whatever. But there was a couple times that somebody got my name, I guess, off my name tag or something like that, and I got got letters of commendation or whatever. But what was I talking about? Can't remember. Oh, Lordy, help me. Looks like this is going to be like a 1 hour video. And I wanted to cover something other than, anyway, when we had that stuff being stolen, well, I'm not sure anything was stolen out of there. But we had to go take a polygraph test. The director of security, I said, no. And at first, he got on disability from the U.S. Army. He was an officer in Germany in charge of a unit with military police that, provided security and what have you, and traffic control and everything when they moved the atomic cannon around. Yes, actually, there was I guess there maybe still is, I don't know. Hope not. And then during the hippie riots or whatever, he talked about being in Washington, D.C., and I guess he was, at some place, he was in charge of a unit, and the hippies were, and peace, make peace, not war, or whatever, and they came and put a flower in the, or gave it to the soldiers or something, and he talked about the hippies, But what was, oh yeah, on the something being stolen from the room there. He said, okay, I'm going to do a test or whatever. Oh, he had taken training in doing audible lie detecting, where the machine or something or other could tell that you were lying. By the way, it probably couldn't do it now, but back then, as in addition, I bought Thomas Publishing. They published a whole bunch of books, manuals for police officers and things like that. I bought them one at a time. I had a complete, library. I read them, and then I took them to the hospital, and in the security office, I just, put them there. I told the guys, hey, help yourself, And after I was there a while, half of them were taken, and they understood that, hey, you read them, then you put them back, like a library. Half of them were gone, But anyway, the director of security said, yeah, I do this thing called such and such, and I said, no, you're not doing that. And he says, yeah, I am. I'm trained on it. I said, yep. I didn't tell him I had read a book. Now, I didn't buy those. I got them from the library. I read about every book that there was on polygraph, just, and how they worked and how the technique, what the techniques that you use, a whole bunch of things, I'll just mention one to give you an idea of, like, one fact that came up at a hospital that I worked at. The business office ladies would be given patient valuables, and they would put it in the safe in the business office. And then some stuff came missing from the safe. And so the hospital did. Actually, that was after I left, but I had just quit that hospital. That's when we had the security officer shootings and that kind of stuff, and I've told you that story. And I didn't leave because I was afraid. I left because they went to the hospital, and I went through that many times, I think, on this thing, talking about that. But I would stop by there for a few weeks or months after I quit, because they were security. I liked the hospital, and they were the employees, security officers were friends and stuff. I'd stop in and have breakfast on the way to Trinity Lutheran Hospital, and I stopped in, and one of the security officers said, "Jim, you got to see this, somebody's been stealing money, and the report for 2 or 3 of the employees was on the desk in the security office." And wow, it said, interviewed so-and-so who worked in the business office, and she admitted that she had taken some pencils and paper when school started for her kids, that she took some home from the business office. And then another one said that she used a couple postage stamps. She was at work and she needed to pay a bill or something, so she used a couple hospital postage stamps. Crap like that, and that was in the report, and then they went to, but what I knew was, I didn't say anything to the, that what you do in a case like that is, if you have, like in that case, if you have a pretty good idea who it, is that did it, is you start with the other people. And so then they go back to the office, oh, okay, they said I passed, they said I passed, they said I passed. And then it's coming up on you, and then if you're the one doing it, then you decide, oh, they're going to get me, and stuff. It's all that kind of crap, There was a No, that's when I left that hospital. When I left, not because of that or anything, I left that hospital. And then they had got a new director of security there. And so I was going in for breakfast, you know. And it was actually like the same security officer, I think, that was telling me, oh, man, you know. The hospital was like built in a kind of a V. And there was 6 floors in a tower, 6 floors in this, and they were connected together, you know. But the one thing was retired nuns were there, nuns that were sick or that were there, and all this kind of stuff. And now, why was that important? Oh, so I come in. Okay, I'd quit St. Joseph Hospital. Maybe I should explain, because I don't want you to think that I left there because a couple of security officers were shot in the line of duty. No, I stayed after the first one was shot. I went to second shift and took his position. And, you know, then I eventually went to midnight shift, and then I got back on the day shift. And then a second security officer was shot. Oh, and I had told the hospital administrator, who happened to be black, and we were in a black neighborhood. I think I can say that because I lived in that neighborhood until shortly before I went to work there. I'd lived in that neighborhood. We were like one of the last, there was always one, you know, like almost the last family, white family to leave there. But I left because when the first security officer got shot at that hospital, I told the hospital administrator, you need to put a gate across this parking lot here between the church parking lot. You need to get bulletproof vest or whatever. And then the second security, and I told him what was going to, you know, if you don't do this, you know, next time, you know, it may be a patient, maybe a doctor, maybe a, you know, who, it could be anybody. I went through the whole list, you know, visitor, you know, staff. And then sure enough, that's what happened. And then that morning when I came in, there was John's blood on the ground. Now, John managed to shoot the guy that shot him. They both shot each other at the same time. And anyway, when the hospital administrator got there that morning, I went over, and there's John Gallegos' blood now on the ground. Now are you going to do something? And he laughed, and he said, maybe I'll get you guys a horse. Okay, well, I felt sorry for him. I sent I didn't have to send, I mean, I told him, you know, there's John's blood on the ground. I just talked to the hospital administrator, and I told him what needed to be done, you know, and I told the doctors, you know. Every one of those doctors, that was a parking lot for the doctors, well, and visitors was down, you know, they all went. And then when I sent him in, you know, then the assistant administrator came out, acted like I'd never seen him come out. You know, he didn't come out of the hospital unless he was following behind and kissing the ass of the hospital administrator. He came out and was acting like, you know, he wasn't a very good actor, you know, acted like he was, oh, I guess I don't need to go to my car, Jim. Oh, by the way, we're going to put a gate across here between that church parking lot and, you know, this parking lot, and we're going to get bulletproof vests for you. And I said, oh, that's good. Thank you, you know. And then I stuck around. It took him a while to do it. I stuck around, and when the vest came, I didn't put on one of the vests because I didn't want to get it dirty. They have a outer cover that you wash or something. I wanted to, you know, why wear it when, you know, you know, so I didn't do that, but Brandon got me a job at the other hospital. Anyway, so I was stopping in the morning and had breakfast with Frank Cipolla. I've told that story before someplace. What a guy. Anyway, I stopped and he said, oh, God, you know, oh, well, okay, that was the first thing. These, you know, reports were just laying on the desk. There was no reason for them being laying on that. It was the security officer's, you know, office. But there wasn't any reason for, you know, the director of security was taking care of, you know, that. there wasn't any reason for me to be reading that so-and-so Sally, who worked in, had taken some items home, for her kids at time when it was, and the other thing, all minor shit. And then, of course, I also knew that, the way the thing worked, but so I thought, I didn't say anything to Frank, because Frank was a character. But then I came in shortly after that, and they'd hired in this new director of security from Sears or Montgomery Ward's, director of security at the Sears or Montgomery Ward's, and he came in, and I didn't know him, and I met him later on. Wow. So, I remember I told you the building, 2 wings, 6 floors, and one was nuns that were disabled and all that kind of stuff. And then the other was a hospital part, But they both, shared an elevator and all kinds of stuff. So underneath, on the ground floor, underneath the side of the hospital that was, the nuns above and everything, there was a stage and an auditorium, and stuff they get. So the hospital would have, or they would have a Christmas party or whatever. Well, they'd had a Christmas party. Hey, Frank, suppose I should tell you. I probably already have told you about what a guy. But anyway, the new hospital director of security from Sears or Montgomery Ward, oh, what an asshole. Later on, there was training set up, and I forget what hospital I was working at then, for security officers training, 40-hour course, and later they had another 40-hour course that we went to. And so this guy who was director of security at Sears or Montgomery Ward's, he talked about shoplifting and that kind of stuff, and stealing and stuff like that, because he was director of, you get the idea. If you're director of security at Sears or Montgomery Ward's, and stay director of security at Walmart or whatever, don't go don't go to a hospital and be director of security at a hospital. Anyway, he thought he was hot shit. So I come in, on my way to Trinity, stop in to have breakfast with Frank. Oh, Jim, you won't believe, the director of security, I almost said his name, but I probably dead, because I'm 82, so. But anyway, the Christmas party was over and everything, but there was, of course, a Christmas tree there. So I started to say his name again, Carter Foss. Fucking idiot. So they had the Christmas tree there, and he was, okay. Now, by the way, when I was fire marshal at one hospital, I was in charge of the training there for, and new, although I was in charge of, when a new employee was hired, they had to go to a 1 days of orientation, and the director of security would go. But when the director of security, when I was the day shift supervisor, the director of security said, okay, you're going to go it wasn't every Monday, it was when they hired new employees, but it was about every Monday. And so I would go and explain to what code blue, code red, explain how, what to do, this kind of stuff, and explain, where the parking was, and just all this kind of stuff. And answer any questions, and then tell them where they could get their parking permits and this kind of stuff like that. But once I had done it a few times, then I would occasionally still do it, but then I would have one of the security officers eventually do it a time or two, which a lot of those, and me too in a way, well, I wasn't, like if I had to get up and talk in front of if I had to get up, if I had to get up and talk in front of a group, and I just had a notebook. I mean, I had notes or whatever. But if I know the subject, I'm not shy. I mean, I could. But if it wasn't, oh, okay, you're gonna, I don't know what, then I would have trouble. But it didn't bother me because I knew what had to be done. But the other guys, a bunch of them, they really didn't like it. But I just had them do it, just so if I was off on a Monday, or whatever, and I would rotate it and come back occasionally and do it. But let's see, orientation. What does that got to do? What time is it? Can I bail out of here? Yeah, I can. Only, let me see if I can wrap this up. Oh, okay. This is the best part. We're going to end on a burning bush. This Carter Foss, former director of security at, one thing, later on, since he was director of security, he was teaching when we had this 40-hour thing. He came in and taught. Now, I was supposed to teach patrol techniques. That was the subject that I was supposed to, and the others were all directors of security. And the director of security said, Jim, you're going to teach, patrol techniques or whatever. And then I jokingly said, I knew he wouldn't take it as a joke. Oh, good, I can sign those guys up for Security Officers Union. He canceled. He canceled, not just for us going. He can't, and the other director of security canceled. Baptist Hospital. That director, he canceled the thing too. They totally canceled it. And of course, I was joking. But I had a reputation. One time I was in at the hospital, our training thing, or not training, but I was in charge of arranging the training. I got people from the Kansas City, Missouri Police Department, who were the instructors at the police academy, to come over one at a time, and paid them, to do it. Because I had some things that I would like, but I knew the guys, they wouldn't think, that. But, so rather than just deal with them looking at me and, deal with it. But anyway, this Carter Foss, he taught loss prevention or whatever. And so he goes in there and he talks about when he worked at Sears or Montgomery Ward's and how he would put this fluorescent gook on the doorknob to his office. And then then he would call up the employee and they would come and open the door up and come on in. And then he would say, but you did this or that or whatever, And then he would take out the light and, their hand would be, they got it off the doorknob. That was bullshit. That was shit, But, okay, he topped it. So I stopped by St. Joseph Hospital to have breakfast with Frank. And he said, you're not going to believe it. He says, Carter Foss, was going to teach how to use fire extinguishers. And I was in charge of that at Trinity Lutheran Hospital, not just employees. I mean, not just security, but, we took employees out and in the parking lot, set some small fires because those fire extinguishers would expire after a certain amount of time. So when we'd have them, do that. I also was in charge of once a week, I think it was, I had to, I'd go and set off an alarm someplace. It was up to me. And now the director of security had been doing it, but he turned that job over to me. And what he would do is he'd go to like a nursing station or something rather, and then he would open it up, and take out the glass thing in there, and then he would close that back up. And then course, we'd have to call the operator and tell her that we were getting ready to test the fire alarm system. And we did this whatever day a week in the same time, but we'd call and let her know so she could make sure that the fire department did not respond. Oh, Carter Foss again, yeah. Anyway, so I come in, he says, oh, you're not going to believe. He says, you know, he was going to show the employees how to put out fires and whatever. Jesus, no. And he says, yeah. And he says, he was going to set, he told me he was going to set the Christmas tree in the auditorium on the first floor, and there was 5 floors above of nurses or of nuns who were, you know, Alzheimer's, who knows what up there. And he, Frank said, I told him, no, you can't do that. You cannot do that. And he said, oh, yeah, yeah. And he said, I went over and I got the director of human resources to come over. And he told him, you're not setting that, you know. And then another time, I only did that a few times, you know, after a while, coming and having breakfast. Got tired of hearing about Carter Foss. Carter Foss decided he was going to pull a fire drill at the hospital, which is what security did at Trinity. You know, it's what I did at, you know. Well, the director of security had done it, and then eventually that was turned over to me. But anyway, Carter Foss goes over, okay, I'm gonna have a fire drill. And he pulled the thing without notifying the switchboard and without the switchboard notifying the fire department. And so there comes all the equipment, you know. The firemen were not happy. Okay, 1 hour. Did I cover everything? No, couldn't cover everything. But I got sidetracked. I need some way to tell you guys. Well, anyway. I'm sorry. I'm gonna, actually, I know what you guys want, I think. Now, there's some of you who actually have said, hey, they like the long videos and they like the material. I think maybe they're driving to work and maybe they're, you know, listening to it or something. I don't know, something to do rather than listen to music or something. Anyway, for the rest of you, mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxa culpa, through my fault, through my most grievous fault. Forgive me, and I will try to, I want to keep on a subject, and then that's what the subject is, you know, because sometimes there's something in here that I want you to know about, but I'm talking about something else, and you know, and of course some of the people, YouTubers a lot, have an index where you can find it underneath. That would mean that I would probably have to listen to my YouTube video and then write down the times or something. That's not going to work. I do not have a, I don't have a script, you know, whatever. But yeah, I'm going to try to do better. Keep them short and keep them on one subject. But forgive me for this time. Thank you very much for watching. Please give a thumbs up if you can. Oh no, I want, okay, wait a minute. Up above here. Okay, I told you about the going to the gift thing, where I'll put stuff if you want to. Nobody's ever done it. What? Wait a minute, here has somebody. I can't remember. Anyway, then there's the thing for YouTube Buddy, and that's really, if you have a YouTube site, I think, what do I say, $6 a month. It's well worth the $6 a month. And the TikTok thing. My wish list again. Okay, I see. Okay, there's 2 of those. I need to remove, put something else there. And TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy, if you click on that, it takes you. Oh, okay. I thought it took you. Okay, I did that wrong. You can go to TubeBuddy for free and look up people. YouTubers, or well, it could be anybody. It could be I don't know, TikTok or something, I think. And you go and put in there, I'll try to fix this. You go there and you put it in, and then it comes, okay, take the raccoon guy. Okay, please, if somebody has already attacked me about that, not saying the whisperer. So, forgive me, okay. It doesn't matter. Okay, now. Oh, okay. So say you're interested in that guy, or you're interested in me. You can go to YouTube or TubeBuddy, and for free, they give you a lot of information for free about, and so you can go and you can put in the Raccoon Whisperer, and it will show you how many videos he's made, how long he's been on YouTube, how much money he makes. You know, it's not 100% accurate. You know, mine is. It says I make $10 a month or whatever, and I started with YouTube at 2005. So I'm not a successful YouTuber, except with endurance and survival, I guess. You know, that's what I wanted to talk about, something else having to do with that. But I'm not going to now. I'm going to let you bail. You probably already bailed, so thank you very much for watching. Help however you can. Use the Amazon link, because if you use the Amazon link, then if just some of you, I've got, what, 3,500 subscribers. If just a few of you would, when you're going to, if you'd use the link that takes you to Amazon and then you buy something, people who have the, you know, YouTubers or whatever and others, we get, it doesn't cost you anything. And we get usually between 1% and 3%, which isn't very much. I think one month I made, for several months I made absolutely nothing, because you have to make at least 20 or something before YouTube, before Amazon credits your account, I think. I think one time I made, because it saved, you know, like it might have been that you had to, I think they might have reduced it. I think you had to have $100 before they would send it to you. Send it to you. I think they reduced it to 25 or something like that. But, yeah, I mean, if just a few of you, 3,500, just the subscribers, not just the people that come, but if just the subscribers, if a few of you people would, you know, use the link. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you 1% to 3%, you know. It just puts money, and then I could buy more toys. And I wouldn't have to sneak them in. But she's my ex-wife, but she gives me crap, you know. So I have to sometimes sneak stuff in, you know. And it'd be nice to not have to sneak it in, because she gives me a lot of crap. We've been divorced 40 years. God help me. Thank you very much for watching.